Hello, Broadway World Delaware fans! A few days ago, I had the pleasure of sitting down with members of the creative team and two actors from the new original musical, Otherworld, which makes its world premiere at Delaware Theater Company next week. Hear from Hunter Bell, Jeff Bowen, Ann McNamee, Adrian Campbell Holt, Carla Puna Garcia, Jamin Nathakumar, and Charnette Beatty for an inside look into the makings of a new original musical. Let's get started. So, this is for the creators, and so you have a concept. How was it germinated though? And then how long did the process take from, hey, that's a cool idea, to where you are now?
Well, I think the process started with me, and I then invited Hunter to come on to the process. So Hunter, how about if you talk about those early days?
Yeah, the seed was with Anne. She had written a different original musical, and I came on board kind of show doctor capacity, I guess you would call it a little bit. And instead of show doctoring that beautiful show, I said, hey, Anne, want to do something else original? Because I will always wave the flag for original stories and original musicals. I love things that are based on other movies and films. They exist and they're wonderful, but the original show really has a lot of power to surprise an audience and let an audience get to know it on its own merits without preconceived notions. So we sort of arrived on this gaming idea. We were out working in Silicon Valley area, and we had never sort of seen a large scale Broadway style musical with gaming as a backdrop. And with that kind of energy out there, tech energy, gaming energy, cosplay, Comic-Con, it seemed like a really cool opportunity to delve into that world and explore it through a musical. So those were kind of the seeds of it. And then we roped in a fellow collaborator, Jeff Bowen, who is also an awesome, knowledgeable gamer as well, and a passionate gamer.
Yes, Jeff has talked about his gaming. And I love the fact that you're into Comic-Con, by the way, because I have a lot of artists that are into the gaming and into Comic-Con, and then they gather together to do their D&D and everything else. And in Green Room, when Pokemon Go was going, they were like putting us, the theater, as a place to find things. I don't know. I don't understand it. Sorry. So.
It was up to Jeff, really. Jeff was the one who encouraged us to go to cons, and it's just extraordinary. Jeff, talk a little bit about your process in this.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the germination of the idea sort of coming from the community of people that are part of gaming, and it's a global thing, gaming. So it's a very very inclusive world. I mean, there's just like all kinds of people, ages, different languages, and people who are in different time zones. So it's always fun to be like, what time is it there? It's 3 a.m. And I'm like, okay, like that's when you game. My gaming hours 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. or whatever. And it's really interesting to find through those communities, and like anything, there are many like-minded people that span the whole planet. So it's not that I think we think sometimes it's just like, oh, the people like me live in my city with me. That's why I moved to New York. And then you come to find out, no, there are people like us everywhere who have the same passions, the same quirks, the same interests. And so we sort of latched onto this idea of a global community and global like-mindedness, and because that's the world we coincidentally live in. And if we learned anything during the 2 years of crazy lockdown, and hopefully not too many more, it became very, 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 very apparent that we were in this global community of the way we are attracted to or reject ideas.
And in terms of process, Roseanne, in terms of process, we're a little bit unusual in that I'm in the West Coast and Hunter and Jeff are in the East Coast, and they would come out to Palo Alto and, for a week or something, right? I don't remember. Now I can't remember how often. Hunter, do you remember?
A lot of trips. I mean, over years and years. That's the thing. I think good work takes time, and we've been very fortunate to have time, and I think we smartly and used our time that we were forced to take off when when the show was supposed to go pre-pandemic, and we used that time on the shutdown to make the show better and better and better, and explore story and explore elements and design elements. But really, the seed of it is to create something original and to explore connections, how we make connections online. So it's funny, you said it, Roseanne, like, I don't know anything about that world. I think show is a beautiful opportunity for folks that may not identify as gamers, or may not see themselves or have a preconceived notion of what that is. I offer that you may have a game on your phone, you may have a word game, you may have some sort of other kind of thing that you play. And so there's a little bit of gamer in you. But if you're not, and that's not you, what I think is cool about this show is we have characters that are windows in for folks that, like, I don't understand that world. But hopefully this evening you'll learn about that world and maybe have some empathy and understanding for why people are so passionate about the role play and the gaming world.
You're talking about the time that it took. How many years, months, how long?
9 million.
Now, we started 9 years ago, Anne. I mean, like, the basic seed
Okay.
of that 9, and then different incarnations, and then folding in all the beautiful faces you see in this virtual room. Yeah, about 9 years, and then off and on readings, and then stops and starts with pandemics. So there's a lot of gratitude that we get to gather and tell the story and finally share it with audiences in a world premiere.
Right. Okay. So you have an original work, and I love listening to this one, is the fact that now you're talking 9 years. How much of the baby got thrown out? You
Oh,
know,
great question.
I mean, that's always the thing. You create, and then you're like, okay, but
I think, Hunter, maybe the best story to tell is how we had one character who had no speaking role whatsoever, and is now one of the 3 or 4 leads. So yeah,
all right.
other
Yeah,
direction way.
yeah. A character, Lorraine, was literally a background, one line kind of idea, and Lorraine is now one of our incredible co-protagonists. There are many, many babies out splashing in a kiddie pool outside that have gone from the bathwater. And there are stacks and stacks and stacks of songs and drafts and things. And again, when you're not basing it on a movie or a pre-existing novel, you make discoveries and you're just learning organically. And then, of course, as you add in other Saturn rings, this is why I love musical theater, you add in Adrian as a director, you add in Carla as a choreographer, you add in What a Workshop as helping us create the game IP, you add in our designer teams of set costumes, lighting, sound, puppetry, and those things will start to affect the storytelling too, because with this show, I think there's such a rich visual opportunity to world build and storytell. So when you see the possibilities of those interpretations of those other artists, that certainly influences Anne and Jeff and I in the writing and creation. I mean, it is a true collaborative spirit. And then also to add in the actors and their interpretations. So I'm looking at Charnette, I'm looking at Jamin and seeing the rhythms of how they are. So that takes on another level of tweaking. But in terms of story changing, several drafts, several babies out. Yeah.
Was Jeff and Ann, was there maybe a song or two that you had to actually mourn because it just wasn't it?
Song or two? You mean a song or 200? Yeah.
And then, Charnette, we should ask you, because you've been in more than one reading, that's putting it mildly. Do you think it's changed? Because we're so close to it every single day. What do you think?
It has. Can you hear me okay?
Mhm.
Okay, great. It has changed, but its change has really been expansive. Like, even if things that were there, oh, remember that line, remember that song, or that little piece of music, it doesn't feel like it's missing. It feels like it's so cohesive, and it all makes so much sense. I was thinking about Come On Out the other day when I was watching the run through. I was like, oh, I remember that bit. But it's beautiful to see its expansive transformation. It doesn't feel like anything's missing, even though I've gotten to hear and see different versions of it.
Okay, so this one then's for Adrian in the fact of, and that's, you get the script, you get the score, you read through many times, you get your ideas, you put everything on paper, you get into the rehearsal, you get into a workshop, whatever, and then you just realize the energy is so very different than what might have been in your head, that you've had to scrap what's on the paper. Have you ended up with that many times in this creative process, going, I'm just going to listen to the room?
Yes, of course. I mean, especially in a room with so many humans that have such diverse talents and bring so much of themselves to the piece. Often this team talks about how what you are, saying this to the actor, like what you are is enough. And so we really do feel inspired by the individuality and kind of essence of our actors. And so, of course, I try, especially because of the pandemic, we couldn't gather in rooms the way that we would ordinarily do workshops and readings over, a 2-year period. So there were a lot of sessions on Zoom where the OW5, which is, Carla and Jeff Hunter and I would be playing all of the characters in the scenes that we were working on and bringing ourselves. But when we finally, so we did go through the whole show, and of course I have scene by scenes of what the blocking is for each moment. But in 3 dimensions, when I have incredible talents and as Hunter said, their rhythms and their kind of tics and special sense of humor and all of that, like it all changes. And that's the, I primarily direct new work, and that's the best part about it. It's just, it's a living, breathing thing, and it can only happen in the room. It doesn't feel like I receive something and it's a finished script or score. It's alive, and it's very fluid.
Right. I know. I love new work. I love that exploration of the unknown. Let's call it. So Carla, I understand you learned martial arts during the pandemic.
Oh yeah. I mean, just to echo what Adrian's saying, like all the work we did over the pandemic, especially as a choreographer, it's quite difficult to imagine the things that we're talking about and articulate that and kind of have everyone see what's in my head. But just like we were mentioning about new work and letting the people in the room bring out a little bit of themselves, I really believe in that when it comes to movement and how you can bring characters to life. And for a work like this, it was important to, let the people who are going to be performing and bringing these characters to life, like meet me in the middle with what we were imagining. And so along with that were the ideas of fight choreography. And I, have a lot of experience as a dancer and as a choreographer, but fight choreography is definitely, not in my wheelhouse. But the great thing about this world is that we're making it up ourselves, and it's in a video game, right? So all of my vocabulary is infused with really anything that I could bring, and the team was so generous in letting me lead that and welcoming any ideas. So along with that was Filipino martial arts specifically. I'm Filipino. My parents were born in the Philippines, and when it came down to thinking of what kind of martial arts could influence this movement, it was a no-brainer. After a little bit of thinking, I'm like, I've always wanted to really dive in. My dad would talk about Filipino martial arts and using arnis sticks, which is, in the Philippines, when the Spanish came to colonize, the Filipinos would have to hide their fighting training. So they would use sticks. They'd use these rattan sticks. And so that became a form of practice. And it's still used in a lot of movies and, on stage combat and things today. So over the pandemic, we had all that time. So I studied with a Filipino martial arts coach over Zoom. I learned some things. And again, the idea was just to let it wash over me and let me infuse it into the dance vocabulary that helps with hopefully the richness and the color of the show. And so I was really excited to, be able to bring a lot of myself authentically. And that's something that this team really encourages. So that's just speaks to what the heartbeat of the show is about, is love and acceptance and connection and empathy.
Right. Turnette and Jamin, so here you think I'm in a musical, I'm going to sing, I'm going to dance. What about fight choreography and Filipino martial arts? Was it easy? Did you have to like really take that moment to start? Because now we have a whole other layer into something.
I'll start and say that luckily my character does not know how to fight.
Okay.
Anyway, lets other people kind of take the lead on that. So, it's brilliant to watch. What they're doing is so cool and so innovative. And I have a blast, hiding in my little corner, watching it all happen. But Charnette is nailing it.
Oh, I'm loving it. I was, one of the things that drew me to this project and this production was that I was going to get to be a warrior and lead people in video game, like this whole world that I was just excited about being a warrior. But this, Rosanna, you were talking about like our process, and I have to bring up that this has been, we talked about this yesterday, such an accessible process and a production. So even when Carla was showing me, or I saw the first video of the fight choreography that I was doing, I was intimidated by it because I knew that what I could bring to the table would be met. Like, it's been such an open arms, open-hearted, open-minded process. I knew I could do it. I trust myself. I can do anything I set my mind to. But I also knew that with this team, anything that I had to bring would be met with just open arms, and it would be all good. And it looks really awesome because like Carla said, we put our heart into it. We've put our power into it, and trust and a lot of love into this process. So all of the fighting isn't violent either. It comes from like this really passion driven, at least for my character, a heart of light and love. The fighting isn't about violence. It's about standing up for what you believe in and choosing to use your power for good. Look at me saying my lines, but I really mean that. That is what our production is about.
Well,
It's been a process of bringing your love to the choreography and to the scene. So I'm glad I get to fight for love in this show.
You're bringing that into, because my question for the actors was also, is there a little bit of you inside your character? Are there any similar traits? And then has your character taught you anything? Have you found something out about yourself through this character that you may have known, but you didn't really truly enrich yourself with it?
Oh yeah. Jamin, are you about to go?
Yeah. When I saw the breakdown for this role, I saw he had, and read the script. I was like, he is a gay South Asian gamer. And I'm like, I have never looked at a breakdown and seen myself in there. Like, I'm a World of Warcrafter, Dungeons and Dragons, and I saw a lot of myself in this character. I think that something that he's kind of taught me too is we all like to compartmentalize the different parts of ourselves and what we can bring to the table. And it's hard to realize that all of those can kind of coexist together. He's a leader in this game, but outside of the game, he's very much not that. But in a way he is, because they all exist together. And I think it's just, looking at embracing the different aspects that make you you, and realizing that they can all kind of live together.
Turnette?
Yeah, for me, I've been really fortunate to be a part of some beginning of the readings as we were building and bringing my character Timula to life. So I really feel like my heart is her heart, and yeah, she has taught me a lot, and we've kind of held hands on this journey. I love to share about how I've learned in my life that there are structures and programs and ideas that have been imprinted on me as a Black woman walking this earth. Just like Timula, she's been programmed to think and take action and to say certain things. But how much freedom and joy and how powerful it is to stop and recognize that a lot of these things have been programmed, and look within, and then make choices on your own to look at your heart and then make a choice from there. And it can be kind of a scary thing to, last 2 years, we had to like step away from a lot of our distractions and really look inside. And my character Timula gets to do that. And it's really cool that I got to do that these past 2 years, away from the industry, away from a lot of distractions, away from a lot of my programming. So I'm really celebrating that I'm taking this journey with Timula, because I feel like we're on a similar path of dismantling a lot of the structures and the programs and really making choices and leading from our hearts. I'm doing it with her and she's doing it with me. And it's a really exciting time to bring this kind of character and this kind of work to life.
Excellent. Oh, that sounds fabulous. I can't wait to see it. But now let's get back. You said pandemic. We're in a 2-year shutdown and everything else. So for the actors, physically going back into a rehearsal, getting the body back into focus, into doing what we do as actors, right? How many massages and hot baths did it take for your body to finally say, I'm not too old for this yet?
Well, we're still working on it.
Every break I have a little massager thing that I'm trying to get myself back in, dealing with masks and things. It does take a toll a little bit, but luckily we have such a supportive company that understands that and has grace for each other as we move through this crazy time.
It is. I mean, that was always my thing was, how are actors coming back physically? To perform for 2 and 3 hours, plus do rehearsals on the week. I don't think people understand sometimes what this physically takes to do. Then you have the mental part of remembering lines and songs and dance and choreography and fight and all that. So I've heard about the rehearsal process. I love the fact that it's a collaborative time. I'm all into that and everything else. But let's step away and let's go into some of the things of behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know. And that is the money talk of this. What does it actually take to create something like this? I mean, a small musical can cost a small fortune and a large musical can cost, way too many fortunes. How did you get the funding for this? Because a lot of people with new works are always struggling for the funding. Were you lucky? Do you have like a good backer, or is this a grassroots kind of deal?
It's a combination of everything. And I think we're so lucky to have the support of Delaware Theater Company. There's someone who the company has taken a huge risk with us, and they have been supportive in absolutely every single way, including financially. I happen to have 5 women who are investors. And
women.
Not mine necessarily ahead of time. So, and I'm just not going to say. And so, yeah, it's a combination of everything. You're right. It does take a lot of funding, but the message is just so important.
Well, that's it. I think, oh yes, Adrienne, sorry.
I just want to add that I've had, invited friends and family members to many projects over the years. And after the sort of sharing of this piece, I had a few family members and friends, and it was the first time that everyone said, where do I invest? How can I help make this show happen? So there's something special in this chemistry of this show that people want. I think they believe that it could be a commercial success, which great. That would be fine too.
So there.
I doubt any of those people are hardcore gamers, correct, Adrienne? It's because they'll come away from a reading saying it's not about gaming. It's
Yeah.
about so much else.
It's about creating art, and I love people who are willing to take that risk and just dive in, regardless of if they understand it or not. You can see the art for what it is. And actors, I appreciate that you're on the journey as well. When you take a new script from people and you go, oh well, we'll try this out. So the question then is, where does it go from here? So you play Delaware Theater Company. Ta-da! We're done. Where are you going? What's the future of Otherworld?
We don't know at the moment because of the pandemic. As Adrian said, we haven't had other readings and workshops for people to come to. So now our next step is going to be that people are invited to the Delaware production, and we will be taking a video of it as well, right? Because it's not everybody can get there, and then we'll see. We'll see. But let us know if you know somebody who wants to take us.
I'll also say, yeah, I think this show has a beautiful, bright, powerful, influential future. I think we're all a part of it because we believe that, and I think that's what friends and folks who've come on, investors, have sensed that too, and I'm excited by that. I'm proud of that. So I can't wait for it to be a global brand and action figures. But I will say, I work very hard, and I think this company does too, of honoring the present moment. And it is thrilling, and there's so much gratitude for it happening now, for it happening in Delaware, for it happening at DTC, and for those audiences. And I never approach moments and opportunities, I call them like lily pad moments, because yes, I'm ambitious, and I want this show and our story to be out into the world in the largest way possible, and that will happen. But I take it is very near and dear to my heart to celebrate this present moment and the opportunity we get to share with these audiences. When we do this show in Delaware, we are doing that show in Delaware in the full heart. The universe will take care of folks coming and taking it to the next level. But I truly believe in celebrating this production in this moment now. And like Adrian says, it's what's so magical about theater, because it cannot be recreated. And so from February 23rd to March 20th at the Delaware Theater Company, we're going to be doing something really, really, really special, and special for the region and the area too. And that's a joy for us as artists and collaborators, to go into communities. And how do you invite the community in to be a part of the creation of this moment in this part of the journey? I don't think it will. If it all stops on the 20th, I'll have feelings about that too. But those feelings would also be a celebration of what we're about to do. We start heading down to Delaware next week, and the theater has already been in full machinery motion, and exciting too. But I take that to heart, and I'm so excited to get to know that community more, to get to know the Wilmington community more. And like you said, so many of those artists, Roseanne, you are one of those artists and writers and creators. And so it's cool to go into these moments with that headset too, about headset, yeah, gaming headset, mindset, of really savoring this present moment, of discovering this work in this time, and to its fullest with those audiences that come in Wilmington. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I think that's it. You covered everything. Is there anything anyone would like to add? I always open it up. Shout outs to anyone? No? Y'all love each other. I know. I can't wait. I really can. Although I'm not a gamer, again, I'm into the new works. I understand gaming, but not really do it. I'm very bad at it. But again, thank you so much, not only for this interview and sharing your time, but sharing your creative processes and your creativity and your work in general. The Wilmington community absolutely will adore it. Trust me, I can tell. Right? You are all fabulous, fabulous artists, and I love all of you. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thanks, Roseanne.